Yes, welcome back to another episode of the Rap Nerds presented by the Music Support Group. This is your boy Kurt, aka Leroy Green III, out here in
Good
LA,
boy.
sunny Los Angeles. What's up, man? How's it going?
Beautiful, man. Beautiful, man. I'm doing good, man. Saturday afternoon. It's the first episode of 2021.
It is.
I'm excited. I'm excited, man.
And
Thank
we
you
got a
for
special guest on here too, man.
we're gonna tease it, but all right, we're gonna jump right into it, man. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, we don't
No,
wanna do it now.
you
We jump
you
into
you
it.
meddling around, man. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the
Jump into
people.
it. Just jump into it. So,
My co-host
screen on
Darren.
now.
My co-host Darren, aka 40 Ounce Guru, and my brother. I feel like you've been on the pod before. You've been on the spot.
Yeah,
I've been on
the
before,
earliest
yeah.
stages.
Yeah.
Martavius Leonard.
What's up?
I don't even know what to call you. Like I don't even know how to like introduce artists. Artist, creator of the newest his debut EP, Concretebloom, which is a hot banging EP. By the way, everybody should go check that out. He dropped that last year in 2020. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Man, I'm good, man. Just trying to stay warm in this New York winter. But overall, man, everything is good, So I'm excited about what's gonna happen in 2021. So yeah.
How's things going in Atlanta, Darren?
It's interesting. Because no, seriously though, because like it's a global pandemic, and it's still like
you guys are very much like this is like y'all.
Pretty serious.
I mean, Atlanta, y'all.
It's like it's happening, but it's like it's not. Like it's like it's,
y'all living y'all best life in Atlanta, like
bro.
Like pandemic does not exist.
ain't no y'all. Don't include me. I ain't going to.
So like how does it as like? So I know you probably go out like you and your girl like go out to like restaurants or whatever that outdoor dining or whatever. But how is it? Because I'm sure you have people or friends on both sides hitting you up like, hey, let's go here, or such and such is throwing a kickback here. Like how is that?
That still happens, but for the most part, like so I realize like me and then most of my friends and our friends, they all like none of them are unless they're like healthcare workers, they're not really working on the front line. So a lot of them are able to work remote. And so there's during the week they're staying to themselves. But then you see like the difference between the sides, like at the weekends. You just gotta look at their Instagram and you'll see, okay, who's more comfortable going out and like what are the layers of comfort?
Does that also like help you pick and choose between like what friends you may want to hang out with as well?
Yeah.
Like if friend X just went to Compound the night before.
Right. Packed up.
Is he X from
I hit him up. I hit him up for a couple weeks, just like, hey, let me see how he, let's see. Let me see how he's doing. Let me.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like things are getting right. I pray to God that things get right.
Hopefully, the last 3 days have gone up a little bit. There's been an uptick in numbers, and we're not even back down to where we were in November.
I didn't see that.
It's
all right.
I mean, with people getting vaccines, then maybe there's hope. Yeah. There is some hope at least.
There's hope. Right. I was just thinking a year before we did the episode, the first episode last year. Martavius was on the episode as well. So it's fitting that
really
he's on the first episode of 2021 again this year.
Okay,
that's what's up. This
is gonna be a fun episode. We're gonna talk about the current state of the streaming era. Some of the drawbacks of. Go ahead.
Hold on. So let's introducing that part. Remember, this is like the first episode of a series, right? We're doing a series.
This is your brainchild, so I'll let you introduce it.
Let's tease the whole thing a little bit. So
this is your brainchild, so go ahead and introduce it.
It's especially in all of us being in this pandemic last year, we're doing a lot more consuming content via the internet, right? Via streaming. And it kind of got me thinking about music, right? Like a lot of us have consumed a lot of music because like what else do we really have to do? Before, other than Atlanta, most people are kicking it at the crib and just consuming a ton of content, both film and music. And so streaming era, this is kind of started right like over 25 years ago. And when I say it started back then, it's more so that's the transition from music being things you own to something in a very digital space. And so the next couple episodes, we're going to talk about how we've gotten from that digital state or the digital transition into now where music is all of it is consumed via, streaming, but none of us really own anything.
Yeah.
Like we don't own the music. And so like how is that going to affect consumption of it going forward? And then what's the next level of consumption? Like is it TikTok videos? Like is that how we're gonna be consuming a lot of our music? So anyways, we're gonna talk about those different eras, and this is like the intro of that. We're gonna talk about the current state of streaming and let Martavis give us the perspective of artists, and we're gonna get the perspective of the consumer.
Yeah. And then we'll dive into Concretebloom at the end of this, towards the end of the podcast, and let
artist perspective.
Yeah, give the artist perspective.
Right.
Which I'm looking forward to as well. So yeah, you ready? You guys ready to hop into this?
Let's do it, man.
So I guess first question on the book is: the streaming era more beneficial to the listener or the artist?
So I have some mixed feelings about this.
Okay.
So
I'm glad we got you on this specific episode too, because I'm sure you have, as a new artist, you have like a very interesting perspective on both sides of it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So okay. So is it more beneficial to the artist or the consumer? I think it's a double-edged sword, right? So I think from a consumer perspective, obviously, although I am an artist, I am still a consumer, right? So from a consumer perspective, obviously you have all of the content basically at your fingertips. Like I can still remember going it was like maybe 10, 15 years ago, going to Walmart and going to the little machine where you can listen to previews of albums that were coming out.
Man.
That was experience, bro. So like it was a whole thing. I can remember just going and like being super excited about seeing which album was going to be out there. But now having this like instant access is really good, because obviously we can kind of reminisce and kind of find music more readily than we have been able to before. But from an artist perspective, that is also beneficial as well. But I think consumers don't appreciate the music as much because everything is so instantly available, right? Like songs don't have as much shelf life anymore, right? Like you literally put it out and like a month later, if it's not getting like rotations or placements in like NBA commercials or just any type of other content, that song is done. Especially if it's done at a mainstream level. Like for independent artists, maybe not so much, right? Because there might be only like a subset of people in the world that are hearing your music.
Yeah.
But for your Meg Thee Stallions, your mainstream artists, shelf life is like literally like a month, maybe a year, depending on how hot the song is. So
yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned that, because like it's one thing that was one of the articles you sent me earlier, Kurt, to read.
Yeah, I think it might have been the NPR article or go ahead.
One of Medium, but it's back in 10, 15 years ago when you had to go to listen to music, right? You had to go to Walmart or you go to like a Virgin Mobile and you get to listen to different albums, and you're also being very selective with the albums that you actually buy, right? Because like you have to physically buy it, so you have to budget for it, just like you do your food. So you have more of a personal relationship with the music, right? Like this is kind of like what the writer was speaking to in the article. So you felt more of a relationship. You were reading through the booklets, right? You were digesting all the lyrics, and you didn't really have a variety of music you could listen to. So you were listening to the same 4 or 5 albums.
You were forced to sit with it.
If you didn't like it, the first 2 listens, this is all you got. So you gonna like some of these songs. You listen to them enough times, and so things kept your attention because that's really where your attention was. You didn't have all these different artists and songs pulling your attention away from it. Versus now, the amount of music and selection that we have, it's sensory overload, right? I don't have to make a decision which one I want to listen to. I can listen to that and I can listen to this. And I mean, we have millions of songs at our fingertips. And so it makes it difficult to, like, you can grasp attention, but like I've said in an earlier podcast, how do you hold it?
Yeah.
That's the key of, being, it's difficult.
I keep going back to this. Like, doesn't that kind of force the artist to like make better content?
You would think so.
You would think so.
Go ahead. I mean, go ahead.
You would think so, but the problem is, so first off, because again, I think to my point earlier, because there's so much music available, it is much more difficult for an artist to push through the noise, right? Like because everybody's sounding alike, right?
Yep.
So like because everybody's sounding alike, they have these different these different playlists that they're promoting per platform. If you're not on those playlists, you might not. You can put all your heart and soul into the content, but if nobody sees it or hears it, it kind of like falls on deaf ears, right?
I guess that kind of goes into a different thing, like, and it may be how do you go about that or whatever? Like, how do you go about getting it in front of people as an artist, especially when you're making great content? Like, if you make great content, you know what I'm saying, your music's banging. Yeah, but you just can't get it out to the masses or whatever. Like, how does that work?
I mean, typically in a normal situation, a pre-COVID world, there will be a lot, like you would be performing them at live shows. Mm-hmm. You would be doing and honestly, and we'll get more into this later. Mm-hmm. Like, I wanted to have a whole EP release party for my project, but I couldn't do that. And I was almost not going to put it out because I was like, I'm not going to be able to like push it as much as I want to. But we'll get more into that later. Yeah. But ultimately, like you would be doing those like live appearances, those live shows, and a lot of distribution companies now have different partnerships with various companies to do placements, right? So like there are a number of different ways that you can do it, but I think COVID really kind of shook things up in what that looks like. Specifically for independent artists, like for your artists that have labels and stuff like that, and they have like a huge team behind them. Not as much because they still have those resources available. But for independent artists, like, it's really about getting like that grassroots, getting your foot on the ground, having like visual content, and being able to push your project in those ways.
So I guess the next question is like, what is the downside to music being entirely online for both consumer and artists? I know one. I can go back to maybe 2 weeks ago when Apple Music had a fail on their end, internal fail on their end, and you couldn't listen to songs that weren't downloaded on your phone.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge downside, and it kind of forced me to it made me realize like I need to start buying albums again.
And that's the thing. Like you don't. It's your access to the music is out of your hands, or the control of it is out of your hands. Like I think that's why there's also been like a.
But it's kind of like it's also kind of like I don't want to say like you're living in the Matrix in a sense, but like you are, like it's kind of not real. Like you don't really own all this.
You don't own anything. We're paying
at your fingers.
We're paying for access to a space, right? Yeah. All this music is held in this virtual space, and there's a cover charge to get in, and it's like, all right, you give us
$9.99. Give me $9.99.
You can stay in here for as long as you want. As long as you want. Just know, like anything in here is not yours. But you have as long as we got it.
Like you always get like albums, like some of your favorite albums, or you'll go back, or like sometimes I just forget to like download to my phone my favorite album. And Apple Music will take a track away from the album or whatever. But then again, that's nothing I can do about that because they could also just strip that completely.
The whole
the whole thing. Yeah. Right. Like, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, so I think that's why you also see that. I think I sent you guys an article this morning or yesterday about how vinyl sales have been like on the rise as well. Vinyls are like outperforming CD sales for the first time since like 1983, which I think is I don't know. I think that's more of like a hipsterish thing more than people wanting to own music.
So I would say it's a hipster thing, but peep how like at every era of music since vinyl's inception, it has always had its pockets of growth. Like it'll wave, but it's always sustained through. From the 60s to 70s, like there were consistently new ways of consuming music, but that has been like the one thing that has actually sustained all of it.
Yeah.
So is it hipster or is it just part of the cycle of consumption? I think vinyl is more so part of the cycle of consumption because it's not going away.
And I think there's like a level of nostalgia behind vinyl as well that you get that you don't get with like CD players and having cassette tapes, right? Like literally I have literally I have a collection of vinyl literally in my room or in my apartment, right? Like, and it's like a statement piece. It's almost like artwork, right? Like when somebody comes to your,
it's like a collection of books.
Yeah, like somebody comes to your house.
It's like a library of books. Yeah,
exactly. Somebody comes into your space and they see, oh, you have this Outkast Stankonia vinyl, or you have the Thriller, Michael Jackson Thriller vinyl. Like they're like, it really talks a little bit about who you are as a person, who you are as a music lover and consumer. You know.
Yep. And on top of that, it's something that, even if you don't have like my vinyl record like player broke, and so I got a new one, but I still have the records. Like I'm not throwing them away because why would I? And that's mine. And on top of that, no matter what the artist does to that song, I always have that version.
Yep.
And that's another aspect of this new age of.
I didn't even think about that.
Artists can change songs.
Man. I didn't even think about that.
The most recent example I could think of is when Young Thug dropped his like Million EP a couple years ago.
He added that guest verse.
The intro track, and he added Offset in the original version.
And it's terrible.
I like better, and he added the Offset version and just didn't.
Oh my god!
I have no way to get that song. I have to find it on that pit maybe. I don't know.
And to add
your computer.
And to add to that, like I can even think even further back. You think about like Lauryn Hill, right? Like if you ever seen her live, all of the songs she does, like she does different versions of them. It's like, what is this? like where's my original version of X Factor and Everything Is Everything? Like I need the originals, right? And without those, like that timestamp, you would never hear that ever again, you know? So I to that point, I agree with you on that point, Darren.
The Weeknd has one too. So like What You Need off House of Balloons, the original tape. What You Need original track, samples were Aaliyah's voice. But they never got those cleared. So once he went to like the trilogy and re-released it, Aaliyah's vocals aren't on. So unless you have the original What You Need,
I give you one that really pissed people off. Was Khalifa's Cushion Orange Juice when it got?
Oh yeah,
because you don't get those samples clear, and so unless you have Cushion Orange Juice,
I did not. I still have the original mixtape on. I have it downloaded to my computer. I've never deleted it. So
I can't. It's time.
But as much as I like vinyls, as much as I like the sound of a record player, I've also been thinking like I like to keep my music on shuffle, right? So I don't know if it I don't know if it benefits me personally to buy more CDs and download them to a hard drive or download them to my computer.
It's buying the virtual
version on the thing.
So here's what, and as I think of that, I think of
but I feel like that's cool
I think of
like you having a big CD case, like you go to somebody's house,
you go to somebody's house and like, hey, all these different mixtapes.
I wouldn't be surprised. So you know how there's like I'm not smart enough or know enough about it to properly explain it, but like the evolution of Bitcoin and blockchain and way of saving things in a very unique and secure and encrypted fashion. I wouldn't be surprised if music kind of goes that route, because it's already gone that route with currency. It's just started in the last few weeks. It's gone that route with basketball highlights.
Man, this weird. The music streaming business.
Fair well goes music
booming, man.
Yeah.
See,
you're gonna find a way to capitalize on things like that.
But you know what? And it's funny that you bring that up, Curtis. But like, because yes, it's booming for the companies that offer the streaming service. For artists, it's not.
Yeah,
like for every song, and this is just a moment of transparency. For like 10,000 streams, I may have made like $50 off of that.
Ooh, damn.
You know what I'm saying? You don't make money. You don't really make that much money off of streams, right? And the number that I'm using might be a little off, here or there, but you might literally like you get a fraction of a cent per stream per song. So like,
it seems like the one constant through like the history of the music business has been you know, the industry evolves. Like the industry is always chasing the consumer.
Yep.
And the second is the artist always somehow is always getting the shaft. Like in every era, every evolution of it, it's like the record companies find some way to save themselves, but never the artists.
Yeah.
Never helping them.
But I think that speaks to one of the articles that you sent over, is that like there's never been a real way. They've always kind of put band-aids on it as we've gone on, right? Like there's never been a real reform of what the music industry looks like and how consumers are benefited, but also artists as well in a mutually
the most important
beneficial way. Exactly, because if you don't have the artist, you don't have content.
Yeah.
You don't have the consumer. The consumer, there's no consumer.
Yeah, the artist
which transfers to consumer or the producer. But in music cases, it's very much clear. Like artists sometimes don't make music for the consumer; they make it for themselves.
Right.
They don't need us per se. They're gonna find some outlet of getting their emotions out, but we need them.
Yeah.
That's true.
So this kind of touches on our final question on this segment, and I think Martavis, you talked about this earlier, and I have mixed feelings about it. Do you think the accessibility to more music being at your fingertips has encouraged people to explore, different music that they haven't typically heard before, different artists, different genres?
Yeah, I would say it does, definitely. Especially with like different curated playlists, like even how this was birthed, like the whole Rap Nerds podcast was birthed. Like it was birthed out of us sharing new music with one another, even if it was music from the 70s that we just had never heard before, right? Like, so I definitely think that streaming provides this level of content sharing and this level of experience sharing, because really and truly that's what it is. You're sharing an experience when you share songs, right? And so I definitely think it does.
It's almost like it's like that's why it's gotten so powerful. The streaming industry it's the amount of access we have to not just music that we know, but music that we don't know.
So let me ask you this. Let me cut in on this though. Do you think that happens at a certain age though? Do you think
not to this level
age with the streaming?
Not to this level. What do you mean like as far as streaming?
As far as like exploring different genres, different artists.
So I think before, like, people did it, right? People would go crate shopping, but they would somehow, I heard this song here, or my friend played this for me, and you'd go try to find that specific record, and but you're still ultimately limited by your means to access that content. Like, you're still limited at whether you could find it, and then B, if you had the funds to buy that specific piece of music. So, but now it's like, if someone shares a song with me, oh, I like this song, I like this genre, I could easily 2 seconds have the song, and I can have the entire catalog.
But that goes. I guess I shouldn't even say genres. Like as far as like somebody diving into something like made in the '60s, or someone made it so like somebody just like Curtis Mayfield's entire like catalog or whatever.
But that's my point. It's like if I don't have the access to it, like how will I, unless I somehow come across it, I may or may not like it. And then even if I like it, it's like, am I going to go try to find and explore the whole genre? Because that still takes time and energy for me to go do it. It doesn't take time and energy for me to discover new things now. It takes no energy whatsoever.
So follow me on this one, right? Like, part of me feels like it kind of can be a little related to age a bit. And the reason why I say this is because, one, specifically our generation, we grew up seeing, like, waking up, going to school, seeing MTV videos where it's showing emo music, pop music, R&B music, all these different like genres of music. And so then we go to school and we're seeing people who like these various types of music, right? The way that streaming is set up, it gives you what you like. It doesn't really give you
that's a good point.
And to that point, like, I talk to people all the time that I send them playlists and like, hey, switch up the flow real quick. These are some songs you may like or whatever. And they're like, thank you, because I'm still stuck on these same 20 songs that I've been listening to. You know what I'm saying? Right. I only listen to songs on the radio. That's why I asked, like, does it really encourage people to go out and listen to and everything? And I don't think it does, because I think it kind of discourages people. It's like Netflix.
So what it is, it's exactly like
I
this.
scroll down Netflix like for an hour until I just go back to the office.
But like that's how all this content, like all the things that are driving how this content is created, like their mechanisms within it to drive it towards your interests, drive it towards things that you're telling it that you like. And so to your point, it's no matter how curious you may be, if you are in an echo chamber and you get comfortable in that echo chamber, you don't have to leave it if you don't want to. And so it's like you have to make a conscious effort to exit outside of that comfort level, that comfort space, like we do with the music support group. Like you doing that, look what it's grown into.
Yeah.
And all the different music that we've all been introduced to. Like I wouldn't know half the music, all of it.
But you make a conscious effort, like you said, you make a conscious effort to go out there.
Yeah,
like you do personally. So back to the original question: do you think accessibility to more music encourages people to listen to more music?
So I think it's twofold though. I think it's like both is not just doesn't encourage it. Like so, the access to it can encourage them, but the mechanism that's providing the music is not. That's why it's an interesting, it's double-edged sword. My bad, right. Martavis.
No. Like I agree. I think that like when you really think about how we just consume music, you don't have like again to a lot of the points that were made. Like you don't necessarily have to go out of your way. I think for people who are music enthusiasts, it gives like you have to be more intentional about seeking that music out. If you're not really into music like that and it's just something that you listen to on like, in passing, obviously you won't do it, right? So like for those people, I think it creates more of a stronghold on them to not be able to find new music. Whereas for people like us, we're gonna find it anyway because we want to find it. We're gonna find it. You know what I'm saying? Even if we have to like type in some random artist and just start listening to all like the recommended artists to like change up our algorithm, right?
Yep. To your point, we always talk about in the chat, like we're all actively trying to fight against our Apple urges, or Spotify. Because if I find one artist that I like, I'll go recommend an artist and I'll try to find some more. Just try to shift up because I'll recognize if my favorites list from Apple is the same every week, I'm not doing something right in my Apple my patterns. I gotta push out of that.
Yeah. Okay. So Martavis, we can go to what is your experience been with music streaming business as a new artist?
I kind of touched on it a little bit before, so I kind of just reiterated. I think that one, you don't make that much money off of the streaming service, quiet as it's kept. I think it is. Now, I will say though, I've had like when I look at my analytics and I see like who's streaming my music, like I'm seeing people streaming my music from like Germany and Singapore and New York and all just all over, which is cool. But I know it's really not reaching that many people. It's like because you can literally see the numbers, right? I also think that there's a cool there's cool data and analytics behind it. It'll tell you how long people stayed on a song, how long people, like before they click to another song, shows you like the most streamed song. So I do think it kind of gives you a little bit of insight into what people are feeling from you, what people, want to hear more from, or more of rather from you. So that's been helpful. But I think overall, like, it's just another method to get the music out there. I think that ultimately where the bread and butter comes in is obviously touring, doing live shows, doing placements, because that's how people really get to hear your music. And unless you're like an Old Town Road and you just blow up out of nowhere,
which is freaking confusing. Why is he like? Oh my god! Like why?
But it's about, and that's what we're gonna talk about that towards the I think the last episode of our series is like the next level of consumption, right? Like the platform TikTok, or I think it was Vine at the time whenever he released it.
Yeah, I think it was Vine.
He did a Vine. It was tidy topic that was engaging. Like people were looking at the video because it was different. It was funny. It was unique. It was charming, whatever you want to call it. And then people recognized that, and the music industry as well capitalized that, create a single, put a shit ton of money into it, pump behind him, get him with the right producers. Obviously, he has an ear for it, but he had the right mix of timing,
Yep.
support,
What's that Jay-Z?
and his own
I
talent.
think it's 15 minutes of fame has stretched well beyond.
Yep. Man, timing is everything, man.
Yeah.
And now
it is
he's
crucial.
Super Bowl
let's
commercials.
talk about let's talk about the timing of you dropping Concrete Bloom, and what was the inspiration behind all that, man?
Man, all right.
Did the pandemic affect this in any way? Like, let's just dive into the project.
Yeah, so I'll first start off by saying the pandemic did affect it. And again, I think I mentioned this a little bit before, is that
the listening party.
Yeah, like I remember talking to you, Curtis, about it. I was like, I think I'm gonna do a listening party or whatever, but I really wanted to do something like a big. I really wanted to do something huge for the EP release, but obviously the pandemic happened. People weren't, allowed to go to shows. Live venues weren't, open, and I think a lot of artists are, feeling the effects of not being able to perform.
Yeah.
Because again, that's a lot of the bread and butter comes in. But I think for me, I really wanted to go ahead and release it because all the songs had been written prior to the pandemic beginning. Okay. It was a matter of everything getting recorded, finalized, mixed, mastered, all of that stuff, and then being released. And so I was like, I don't want this to sit too long. Because again, when we talked about shelf life, right? Songs don't have that much shelf life. And these songs could be current now because that's the sound and that's what people are vibing with. Yeah. But if I wait until 2021 to release this, maybe people might not be on this vibe anymore, right? So, I think that was a huge consideration and why I decided to release it.
So that I'm sorry, that goes back to my original question. Like, I know this is kind of hard to do, and I think only a select few artists have done this ever, probably. But doesn't that kind of force you to just want to create something that's more timeless?
Yeah, and that's
what the sound of today is.
Yeah, and that's what I did. Like, I tried to make it. Honestly, what I did was I was like, regardless of, I think what makes it timeless, obviously, is lyrics that you use, right? Like if you're using jargon that's current now, obviously 3 years later, that's gonna age your song, right? But I tried to make it as timeless as possible, but more importantly wanted to make it something that I love, period. Like something that I would listen to. And if I would listen to it, I was like, okay, we're good to release this. And I think that was the key for me, right? And just being very authentic in my approach and everything that I did. And just kind of going back to the original question in terms of inspiration behind it. The EP came, I will say that it was birthed out of my entanglements and experiences while living in New York.
Okay.
Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
And I think that the name Concrete Bloom really came from this idea of understanding that by living in New York and being in this space and living in this time that we're in now, things can be difficult. Things can be very confusing and somewhat the lines can be blurred on a lot of different things, right? But even in those hard spaces, something beautiful and something dope can come out of it. So even if you listen to the song, there's a chronological I guess timeline per se of really understanding, even from the first song Synesthesia, where it's talking about being confused, not really understanding what's going on, having these different things happening, to the end where it says could this be love? Could this be what I've been looking for this whole time, right? And I think that ultimately that's really where the inspiration came from.
So let me follow up with this other point. So I feel like we were talking about how much we have access, how much music we have access to, how the consumer just has, just how easy it is to access things. The other side of it is, as an artist, we have more artists being able to release music and get access into the hands of people in Singapore or Germany without the help of a label, just on your own, just like we're doing with this podcast. So we talked about how, earlier, the trouble with that is getting through the noise. So did you think about that while you were telling your experience, how this would resonate with people? Or was it more just, this is just you and your process and the people accepted it, whatever, it's more about you?
I think for me, I was really more so thinking about myself. I wasn't really thinking about whatever the people were doing, because I think at the end of the day, one thing I've always learned is that you do things for you, you don't do it for the approval of other people. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the work that we enjoy and the work that we all look at as timeless work is work that people did, and they were talking about their experience, and it was things that we could resonate with and things that we could relate to. And I think that ultimately, by trying to create something that was cool and hip, or relatable, I think, or intentionally relatable, I think you lose your authenticity, right? And I think that's when it comes off as fake, it comes off as corny, it comes off as whack. And then you're like, and then people that know you be like, Martavius, this ain't you. Like, like, what are you doing? So I think that was really, I didn't really think about anybody else. I mean, I did get some feedback. I would say that. I did get feedback from people who, you know, were songwriters, who were producers and things of that nature to make sure that, like, are we on the right track? Does it sound okay, right? But I think from a songwriting perspective, it was really me just telling my story, telling my experience as authentically as I knew how.
So the balance is more so like, my bad, go ahead, Kurt.
No, go ahead.
So the balance is more like creating the content for you, and then it's as you start to produce it and get it and put it in that format that how the consumer is going to receive it. That's when you start kind of getting other people's feedback and saying, all right, what do you think about telling it this way? What do you think about telling it that way? Like, you're still telling your story. Now it's just a matter of telling it in a way that's going to reach the most people.
Exactly. And I think the reason why I do that, right? You know, the saying that says like too many chiefs, not enough Indians, right? Like once you get too many people's opinions, then you start to cloud your own creativity, right? And you can't really do what you're looking to do. So it was like, I can get a few opinions here and there, but like if I start asking the world, like, what do you think? What do you think? Then that's when you start to create things for everybody else, and it's not true to your experience and true to what you feel. And then you listen to the project and you're like, ugh, I hate this.
Because it doesn't sound like you. It sounds like everybody else. I get that.
Exactly.
So could you take us through, somebody wanted to know, could you take us through your writing like process? And I want to know, like, what were you inspired by musically? Or were you inspired musically at all? I talk to people sometimes that create music and they say they don't listen to music while they're creating music at all because they don't want to sound like anybody else.
Yep.
Could you speak on that?
So I will say the best way I can describe like my kind of writing process is like a 5,000 piece puzzle, like those huge puzzles that you have to put together, right? Like the key to those puzzles and putting them together is putting them together in sections. Like you might have the corner over here, you might have the middle piece right here, you might have another corner over here, and then you're like putting all the other pieces and you like eventually put them all together. And so I think that's kind of how I really like approach the process. So from a lyrical writing perspective, I have a tendency to think faster than I can write or, you know, say things sometimes. And what I was finding myself doing is in that writing process, like, I'm like, oh, let's say I want to write, you know, Feels, like it's one of the songs. Let's say I was writing that song. I'm writing the lyrics, but I'm worried so much about how it's moving, and I'm thinking about the final product as opposed to just being in the moment and writing. And so what I had to realize, I had to take a step back and say, okay, let me just do more of a stream of consciousness writing and say, all right, I want to write a song. Let me write it about this, but I'm just going to write everything that I feel in this moment, everything that I'm thinking about, whatever comes to mind, and then come back to it and then piece it together in terms of the format of a song, right? From a melody perspective, man, I was literally inspired by any and everything I could hear. Okay. Literally, I'll be on the train in New York. Somebody will come, some like street performers will come on the train and start playing ukuleles and random stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. And then I literally take my phone and be like, just like no words, just doing the melody, right? And then taking all of those, like literally I have like a whole Rolodex of maybe like 200 voice notes in my phone where I just randomly, even at work, literally I would be at work and working and something to come to mind, I'd be like, like, so that nobody would hear me, right? Or see me and think I'm crazy. But then take those pieces and put them together, right? And even thinking about, so the first song I actually wrote on the EP was Stay. That's the second track of the album or the EP. And the original version of that song is completely different from the final. Like, completely different beat, different melody, like words are still the same, but completely different song. And I think that like that came from a lot of trial and error, and then also kind of figuring out what I wanted my sound to be, right? Because you know, I grew up in church, love R&B music, but I didn't want to sound like a 90s R&B.
You don't want to sound like Molly.
I didn't want to sound like Molly. I didn't want to sound like Jodeci. Like I didn't want to sound. I didn't want to sound like John B. I didn't want and no shade to any of them because they're dope artists, but I didn't want it to be like that. I didn't want it to sound so like this has been done before. you know.
I associate that. That's like the begging part of R&B. That's like the scenarios where you was like, baby, I'll lick your toe. I'll
get down on my knees, please, drink your bath water.
Please, baby. Please.
I mean, I remember when you first sent me, like, I think it was like a real rough draft of one of the tracks. And I was like, anytime one of my friends sends me music, I'm like, I need to sit on this. Like, give me a day to get my mind in the right place so I can give you an unbiased opinion. Yeah. And I ran it and I was like, this is fucking amazing.
No, we've talked about that before. It was like when your friends give you music, it's like you're just like, I really, really hope they're not gonna make me lie to them. Like, please,
like,
bruh,
please.
I was processing in my head, like,
let me have the strength.
Man,
and like, oh, damn, no, don't lie about it.
Yeah, like, what can I tell them? The day is for, like, what can I tell this man if this song is not good?
Isn't good, man. But here's the thing, though, and I remember telling you guys this. I was like, I'm gonna send it to you because I know you're gonna give me honest feedback. Right? I know you're gonna give me a very unbiased, like, real opinion, even if it sucks, right? And so I was like, all right, let me just prepare myself for the worst. And when I didn't get the worst, I was like, okay, you might be onto something here, right? So,
that's like any artist. Like, would it be, like our podcast? Like, we want,
we want the honest
create something. It's like, it's like, all right. Let me try to get some. Hope they don't lie to me. Don't lie to me.
Let us know. So, what's your favorite track on the album? You've already. I had the question of what was like one of the hardest tracks you wanted to produce. You already answered that with but yeah, what's your favorite track on the album? Like, what's your baby? Like, what's your?
I would say my baby is probably Feels, and I think it's Feels because of how the song came about. Like, how I wrote it was very, like, it just came out a little, like, what you hear, it came out of, like, a completely different situation or circumstance. It would probably be Feels, and then probably my second favorite is probably be Synesthesia. Those are my two favorites.
You need to upload the lyrics on Genius or something like that.
So that was a point from earlier, like when we first started talking about streaming, how you buy an album, you're gonna get the line notes, you're gonna get the producers, you're gonna get the who songwriters are. I wish that part, like, you gotta hope the artists want to upload their lyrics. Like, you gotta hope the artists they gotta upload their credits.
I'll upload them.
Really?
Sorry.
I thank you. I love, you know what, like, for like albums, excuse me. For like albums, I I really go back. I've gone back and listened to your album maybe like 2 or 3 times, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
For as much music as that has dropped since you dropped your album or your EP. For me to revisit an album says a lot. And a lot of times when I read albums, I like to go back and read the lyrics or whatever.
That makes sense.
I've added
songs to playlists. Yeah, I've had songs to playlists. Like, if you're listening to this podcast, the EP is a vibe.
Bro, it's a genuine vibe, bro.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
You know what's dope about it? It's both like some dope, like, chilling vibe music, but it's also like some dope, like, all right, we about to go on a date, like, good date.
Yeah, like, you can run it with your lady. Like, it's a vibe, man. 6 songs.
I appreciate it, man.
Like, nice, bro. Like,
appreciate it, man. And you know what? I also got to give a shout out to people who helped me with it. So, like, Synesthesia, Adam Seba, and Eugene, like, they both, like, got on the verse. Or got on the track and, like, laid down some dope verses, which that also even came out. So I think this is
even the little rap verse was dope. Yeah, the little rap verse of the first track was dope.
Exactly. Here's the thing. So here's the thing. So Issa Rae had made a comment or made a like in an interview had stated something about people always trying to network up and down, but they don't network across. And literally, the 2 people that got on my track, one was one of my good friends. We've been knowing each other since I've been in New York for like the past 6 years. And then the other one I met through a mutual friend, also a frat brother. And literally we were like hanging out in New York one day, and we were all chilling at the crib, and we was like having like a little freestyle session, rapping on tracks or whatever, just killing time. And dude started rapping. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, all right, I'm working on something. I'm gonna hit you up. be ready.
That's dope.
And literally, I sent it to him during the pandemic. I was like, yo, I need you to lay this verse because I wanted to make sure I finished it, my part of it, before I sent it to them so they like could get a feel for what the vibe was going to be and what the song was. But yeah, they came in.
That was a great intro. Like I'm all for intro tracks. Like intro tracks set the,
the tone.
They set the tone for the album, for the mixtape, for the EP, and it started off like you set the bar here, and it was like it kept going up. I was like, man, this is dope.
Do you prefer the intro skit or the intro album or the intro song? Sorry.
If you can give me both.
Yeah, I wanted to do an intro skit too. I wanted to do an intro skit to introduce it, but that takes time and money. Putting together a project period takes time and money.
And that part is like so again, it's like you have the access to make music, but it's still like you're very much you're a self-funded independent artist. Like that's and you just figuring that out, and that's like that's why like when you get these type of projects, like this is your debut project, like it's and it's well received, but you also hear like the time put into it, like they got this exactly where they wanted. They didn't put it out to make obviously want to make money, but like it wasn't like I need to like. He's like, no, this is my passion project, and if it grows into something past that, fantastic. But this is, and you hear that in the music. And that's the thing. Like at this level, like you hear the passion project. People don't just put out things because they want to, or like they bought. Like you have to. It's an investment. Time investment and money investment.
Definitely, man. Like it's in it. You don't realize like how much things cost until you start really doing it, right? Like you start thinking about the mixing and the mastering. That's thousands of dollars on top of you working with different people, and then there's different ways that you can do it, right? Like if you take the Old Town Road approach and you just go to BeatStars and you buy a beat, you purchase the license for it, that can be cheaper. But if you're literally talking about arranging from scratch, working with musicians to come in, you have to pay those musicians, you have to pay for the studio time, and now granted, like you can, like I can record a lot of my vocals at home, right? But like if I'm really sitting there talking about working with people like other musicians and other artists, like you have to have the right equipment, you have to have the right setup, and so that takes time and effort and energy as well. So it's a process, but I think when you do it right and you do it well and you take the time and energy and effort to put to really make it great, like the results of it are always like really dope. So
you really appreciate the fruits of your labor more.
Exactly.
So what can we expect next? What's next for Martavius?
So I'm gonna say this.
Just Martavius.
So it's just Martavius. It's just Martavius for the artist stuff.
Or you're just gonna be M.
Just M. Nah, that's whack. M. But no. So here's the thing. So working on visuals for the EP. Okay. So that should be coming out soon. But honestly though, what I realized in this whole process is that I don't really care to be the artist. I'm really like enjoy the creating process of it. So like the songwriting, the producing, all of that, because I think that first off, that's where the money resides, right? But secondly, like I've realized like that part of the process really like fuels me. Okay. And the part that's really like I'm like, okay, I really enjoy this part. But in terms of what's next, working with some other artists, doing some songwriting. So anybody who some artists, anybody who wants to collaborate, definitely hit me up. But I'm curious, what are y'all interested in seeing from your boy?
I don't know. I would like to see another EP. I don't know, but I think that's very selfish of me.
That part. Well, I mean, you can be honest though. Like be honest. I think you could do both. Like I want some more vibes like that, but I want a different setting, like a different vibe. So like I think your first album or EP is like, this is very flirty, it's romantic, but in the sense of like a chasing, like you're exploring. It's very intro stages of the human experience. And I want a little more, not saying that I want like a love album. I want some vibes, right? Like romantic. Okay. I think you got the R&B range for it, I think.
Okay.
I knowing Martavius, I know Martavius, and I'm glad you described that perfectly. I'm not to speak on your life, but I think you described that album perfectly. And to that point, I think I would just want to see whatever your next piece of work is to grow with you.
But that part too, like I can't want something just because I want something doesn't mean I want you to like have to.
That's
that means you
fair.
have to go through some things and
like
live it, and I don't.
Yeah, I like
know?
being my favorite artists. Like they give you a glimpse of what's going on in their lives at the time.
At the time,
yeah.
That's real.
Yeah,
from
their album is a timestamp in their life.
Yeah, from Stevie Wonder to to Marvin Gaye to Kanye West, they let you know
who's good
what's
at that?
going
you know
on.
Who's really good at that? That people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Drake's really good at that. Is even whether or not you like his album or not.
Oh Lord, here we go.
So this is we'll get out.
Here we go.
We'll transition into our next segment, the music segment of this one. So this goes to an argument that not really an argument, but a conversation that me and my wife was having. And she said, I brought up about, people making music that speaks to their lives at the time. And she said, does Drake do that? And I thought about it. I said, yeah, but it's very shallow.
Yeah, both things can be true. Like it's a time step in his life, but
very shallow. I thought about it and I said, yeah, he does, but it's usually about, some form of money, competition, or women.
But sometimes it's family too. It's different, like different parts of family, his family, and also his personal, his experiencing fame. Like it's still.
Yeah. But
let's also be very 100 about it. Like once artists get to a certain level, they're not writing all of their songs anymore. Like they have other writers, so it's hard for somebody who is coming on as a songwriter and somebody says, "Oh, I want you to talk about this," and for them to talk about it if it's not from their perspective.
I think they keep something in the back pocket that's like,
no, they definitely do. They definitely do. But a lot of the like, even if you think about, and I know this has nothing to do with Drake, right? But like, if you think about like the Beyonce Lemonade album, a lot of those songs were not written by Beyonce, even though she's on there as a writer, right? Yeah. Because obviously she's gonna do that. But like she did not actually write those songs. So like even like Sandcastle, that was written by like one of our Morehouse brothers, right? Yeah. So artists have people that come and work with them.
Yeah,
so
I get it. Yeah. But to answer that question, Drake does do that. He does. But that's what I would expect out of your next piece of work if you decide to go that route. I don't want to be selfish. I try not to be selfish when it comes to artists, but if you
I'll say this, expect some really cool things coming up from me. I can't share all of them right now, but definitely some things in the work, more music coming. Again, a good thing about being an independent artist is that these EPs can last however long you want them to last, because everybody hasn't heard this EP, right? So like I can
we buy it on iTunes? Can we buy it on iTunes, Apple Music, or Apple, Amazon, Google? That's what we.
Yes.
Tell the people. Get it forever. Buy it.
Man. Tell people.
Yeah, so you can find me. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at MartaviusJ_. Again, that's MartaviusJ_ on Instagram and Twitter. Yeah, man. So be on the lookout. Again, new music, some more projects that I'm working on.
Find the album and buy the album.
So you can buy the album on Apple Music and Spotify. It's Concretebloom, all one word, no space, because you might not be able to find it if you don't. But under Martavius Concretebloom on Apple Music and Spotify, and you can also purchase it on iTunes.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you for joining us. Before we get out of here,
purchase the album, have it forever.
Yes.
Before we get out of here, we always ask our guests what they've been listening to lately. What have they been, what they've been running?
So I have been running that new Lucky Day album, and I have been running Hotels by Jasmine Sullivan. As much as it does not apply to me, the shit was dope.
You feel it, like you feel.
I was like okay, Jasmine, I see what you did there.
That's a passion project right there. She put some in that one.
Exactly.
I've heard mixed reviews about the Lucky Day. I've heard mixed reviews about the Lucky Day.
I haven't listened to it yet.
I personally enjoy Lucky Day.
I do too. But I've heard mixed. I heard mixed reviews about this last.
What were the reviews?
I just heard it was okay. I heard it was nothing special. And anytime I hear that, especially in this streaming era, it doesn't encourage me to go listen to it.
Go listen to it.
Yeah,
that's real. That's real.
What I try to use for me is like, all right, did I like their last project? And if I haven't heard it, if I see who I see listening to it on Apple Music, I'm like, okay, I like some things that they vibe with. Let me me check this out. But I also, that's also another way that you can get kind of like trapped within, you know, your own echo chamber of music. And so it's like, I also try to see, all right, I haven't listened to things that they listened to before. Let me try this one out too. Like it's trying to find that balance, you know?
Speaking of, the February album challenge has been very beneficial for me. I've ran, what's today? The 27th. I've run 26 albums, 26 new albums so far this month. And it's been cool. I've been on a very fun journey.
So out of the ones that you've listened to, which is one that you probably like is like your favorite?
Damn, I should have mine down. That's probably all this music. So you know who I didn't know I liked this much. Like I really got it. So I went to like a little Houston wormhole, like just diving in, and I didn't realize how cold LES was out of Houston. Like, and he's been in the game for a minute. And if you just like Houston, like, you know, that car music is real chopped in. It's a chop, but it's also like it's heavy 808s. Like, bro, I love this Houston sound right here. This is some groovy shit right here. I love this.
For me, MF Doom, I didn't realize he was that cold.
Okay.
He just recently passed. He passed, I think, right before the year ended, 2020. He's cold. And
you know, a product of streaming music, like being able to like listen to artists that I never got a chance to listen to this person. Let me go listen to this person and get hip to it.
Bobby Humphrey she's a black I think she's a flutician. I think that's how I think she plays the flute. She dropped that album. Like her jazz album in 1974 was one of my favorites. Called Blacks and Blues. What else did I listen to? Curtis Mayfield, man.
I looked at this. Not the super the other one you posted.
The Roots.
Yes, that one. That was nice.
My god,
I like that one.
Yeah,
like that
classic. That is like it's and I didn't realize. I was like reading back on it, and it got lost in that span of him dropping Superfly and Curtis. So he dropped Roots in 1971. He dropped Curtis in 1970. I know. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the full Curtis album by Curtis Mayfield. If you haven't,
I haven't.
Listen to it today.
Okay.
It's one of those albums that's kind of like this could be made today. It's one of those, like, it's kind of like on the brinks of like Marvin Gaye's what's the album I'm looking for? Marvin Gaye's
are you talking about Marvin Gaye's his the one with I Want You? Are you talking about that? Or are you talking about the one with was it I forget his debut one. I think 1970 when he dropped it. Now let's get on the one before that.
What's going on? I'm sorry. It's kind of like along the lines of that in terms of like content. And I was
like real political, like political, but like
but it's more it's black. It's black.
Blackity black.
Yeah, his music is black. Like it just makes
not to say that Marvin Gaye's wasn't.
No, it does. No, I'm not saying that, but like he's like right on, brother, like that, like soul brother, like he a soul brother. You know what I'm saying? So
pushing man, pushing man.
Yeah, you've heard the Superfly soundtrack before, haven't you? Yeah. So it's kind of Roots was sandwiched in between those two like amazing albums. So a lot of people overlooked it. So it was kind of dope going back and listening to that. Also, Michael, I don't want to pronounce this guy's name wrong. Michael Kiwanuka, I think that's Kiwanuka.
You talking about he's a British artist?
Yeah.
He has the song on Big Little Lies, the theme song.
Yeah, those have been my favorite. Yeah, those have been my and Jimi Hendrix, Band of Gypsies, live in person.
I dived into some of the Nina Simone albums I hadn't heard before, and especially like the albums from the '60s, like you felt that, like you felt a lot of her music, man. Like, what you want to say, Martinez?
So for me, and y'all gonna probably kill me for this because I've never been a huge Prince fan. So I really never been a huge Prince fan. Just no.
Eyebrows.
I mean, and that's why I said you're probably gonna kill me for this because again,
okay,
so literally,
okay.
I went and like kind of read a bunch of the Prince albums, and now I get it now. Now, am I still gonna? I might add a few songs to the rotation. Am I gonna sit here and talk about like what listen to all the time? Probably not, but I get it.
Think about Prince, that's my thing. Is like long as people can say like I understand, I get it. I get it. That's good.
Think about Prince though and his albums. Like all his albums aren't fire. Like I love Prince, but I'm just gonna keep it real. All his albums aren't fire. But the thing about Prince is that he has so many albums, right?
That's
like,
true.
It's like
that is true.
So many songs. Like his discography.
It's all, and it's like the range in it too. The range of the albums and the sound and the song. It's like, yo, this true. Dude, like his ear and his talent was like, I'm a big fan of just seeing greatness. Like, and I'm not a musician, so I still have an appreciation for like, yo, I don't even know how the hell you made the sound with that instrument. Like, but I've never even heard. I don't even know how to identify what that sound is.
Like, Also, Pooh Shiesty.
I told you he was nice. I told you.
Okay.
Ran that. It was nice. I love
it. I think the chat put me on. I didn't even know.
The chat. Honestly, the chat be putting me on a whole bunch of stuff. I'm like, okay.
I didn't know.
Would have never came across this, but I appreciate it.
Also, I ran Baby Keem's debut. I think it was his debut album. A debut.
2018.
The Sound of Bad Habit. I'm all in Baby Keem now, dog.
So I asked about the best. So I asked about the best. Well, your favorite. What's probably been the worst one that you listened to?
Oh man, I just turned 2 days ago. I forget what it was. Like, I put it on and I got through half the first song. I was like, I'm not doing this for another 18 songs. I was like, I gotta pick a different album.
18 songs. That was a lot of songs. First time.
And I was like, I'm just gonna do this one. I couldn't get through the full song the first one. I was like, I'm good on this.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, and this was the biggest disappointment. It wasn't that the album was bad. It was just I think it wasn't as good as the previous 3 of the series. But I finally ran the Run the Jewels 4, Killer Mike and LP, their little group, and it wasn't that. It was okay.
I'll be 100 with you. I think like I'll listen to it. I'm like, yo, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand.
Okay, exactly.
But I understand.
But as far as I mean,
not for me. I'm not running back.
Yeah, the Run the Jewels 2 was their best one in my opinion. But this one was like, okay, like y'all can rap your ass off. But as far as like, there's a difference between rapping your ass off and making a fire song.
Right.
That's hard.
Yes, that part. Like for example, like and maybe it's because I haven't dug deep enough. I haven't found a Killer Mike song that I've enjoyed more than the song that was on Madden, like in 2004.
I
haven't found what I've enjoyed more. I'm like,
Killer Mike gonna come down and hunt you in Atlanta, dog.
17 years, I haven't found a song that I enjoyed. Again, maybe I haven't dug deep enough.
Agree.
And I appreciate what he does as a whole, and but I get it. I understand. I see, like, yo, you are incredible with that microphone in your hand. I'm just saying, for me personally.
Yeah, I get it.
I haven't found a song that I would revisit.
But that's another thing. There's so many people with talent who can't make good songs. Like,
it's hard. Like, it's hard. It doesn't
always translate. And then vice versa, you have people with no talent who can make banging songs, and you like, how?
But music is fickle like that. But I think the thing is, like, it's one thing to make one hit song, but when I see people making several hit songs, I'm like, no matter how you feel about that person,
he has something.
For example, people have like started like on social media, like started turning against the baby, like saying, yo, I don't like his consistency, he sounds the same. I'm like, you can say what you want, but how you literally can't go anywhere in life without hearing this man's music. And he continues to put out hit music. Like is he the best artist? It's debatable. But you're hearing.
I needed to span a few more years before I can make that statement.
Yeah, but I hear you, but it's going on 3 years. It's like you hear it like I'm not. It's one.
A lot of people have a three year like.
Here's the thing. Run, I'm not saying the art. I'm saying how many hit singles. Like, it's one thing to make one hit song and that carries you. When you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
That goes back to this. That goes back to this streaming thing, though. What Martavius touched on earlier, though. If you're in the right pockets with the right people, your music can be displayed any and everywhere.
And
but it's also holding the attention though. It's twofold. Like it's one thing to be hot and one thing but you have to make music.
So here's another thing, and I know it's kind of going back a bit, but like one of the things that they talked about in even like songwriting now, like even if you notice, songs don't really have bridges like that anymore. Like you really have like you have a hook, you have a verse, you have a hook, and it like goes off, right? Yeah. And so like there's even just how people write and approach music is different because they want to like get the consumer immediately like pull you in, right? So I think how long will it last? How long would that last, right? How long would that last? And like I want to see how he adjusts as music adjusts and as consumer interest adjusts, right?
So a contrast to him would be like an Anderson .Paak. Like I have a shit ton of hits, but I'm also like it's amazing. Like you're going to love my music. Like I have the consistency, I have the durability. Like I am cold and music. I know it.
He just makes music,
and that's why people are so excited for like this Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak just announced.
But again, that goes back to your point, Kurt. That goes back to the longevity of why certain artists have like these long careers because they're just making music. They're just they're utilizing their talents. They're collaborating with people. They're getting fresh ideas, and they're making music. They're not trying to make it because it sounds like what's in and what's hot right now.
Yeah. Or Bruno Mars toured off the same 24K album for like he's still touring. Like, he hasn't been new albums
because the album was hot. Like every song could have been a single.
Bro, he's been touring for years, and this is his first project since 24K.
Every song could have been a single on that album.
Rihanna,
literally.
Anti was 2015. Rihanna has done nothing. And he's
making that any money, man.
And she probably won't. And she probably won't do anything.
For what?
Right.
She's making way more money off Finny, probably.
You talk about leaving on a mic drop. Yeah. I mean, if that's your last album,
that's a great album.
Do your thing, girl.
Anything else before we get out of here, you guys?
Nah, I think this has been a dope conversation, guys. It's dope.
People hopping on.
We appreciate it, man.
This is the first time I've been on it since we've done video. Because the last time, it was just all audio.
Nah, this is fun, man. This is fun. We appreciate you. I'm super excited to get into this series. This is a great way to kick it off. In the next episode, we're gonna be starting back from like the beginning, like how we were at the transition from we went from like CDs to all right, now we're using LimeWire and trying to get music out.
Getting viruses on your damn computer.
Ruining our parents' computers. So we gonna go back to that point in the next episode and take it from there. So I'm looking forward to that. But again, thank you, the illustrious Martavius.
Go ahead, man.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Tell people where they can find you again before we get out of here.
Okay, so again, on Instagram and Twitter at Martavius J_. That's MARTAVIUS, no O. And you can download the album Concretebloom on Apple Music and Spotify, and you can purchase it on iTunes.
Boom. There it is, man. And to you, the listener, thank you for inviting us into your space.
Of course, man. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me, man.
No problem. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Rap Nerds _MSG. Hit us up, comment.
Please and thank you.
Follow.
Yes.
Also like, subscribe, share.
Apple Music, Spotify, Stitcher,
YouTube, Stitcher,
SoundCloud, YouTube.
Share,
subscribe to YouTube
comment.
Channel as well.
Let us know what you think. Also, go check out Martavius' project. Let us know what you think about his project as well.
Yes.
This is Kurt, aka Leroy Green III.
40-ounce guru. I'm gonna change that. AKA the 40-ounce guru. I'm gonna change that.
I might go back to Watchman Chronicles.
Y'all, can I tell you, Kurt, you've had so many fucking handles. Like Watchman Chronicles, Leroy Green. I'm like, I can't keep up.
He's like, I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I might go back to Watchman Chronicles. I was thinking about that today. I might go back to Watchman Chronicles. But whatever, we gotta get out of here. Appreciate y'all, man.
All right, peace.
All right, I'm gonna holler at y'all boys.
All right, man. Thank you guys.
All right.
Thank you, Mark. All right, peace, guys.
All right.